What's up, folks? Welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm with Cathy O'Brien, one of the bravest souls I've ever met in my life. She has come out many, many times and talked about how she is a victim of trafficking amongst very prominent politicians, individuals. Cathy, thank you so much for joining me. We'll say what we can here on Fluff Tube, but I really appreciate you coming out. You're one of my favorite guests for sure.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's a wonderful opportunity to reach more people. Thank you.
Yeah. And we'll go to Nino's Corner.tv and we'll talk about the names of the politicians, but let's just start. I mean, you were trafficked amongst many politicians. You've seen military. Are they deep underground bases or just military installations? You also have been through amusement parks that everyone would know, very famous amusement parks that have underground facilities there?
Yeah, exactly. So much of what we're seeing these days is not new. What's new is that we're seeing it. It's been going on my whole life. I mean, I was born into a multi-generational incest-based family, and it had long since been found that in the formula for mind control, that trauma is the basis of it. And there's no trauma more horrific on the human mind, abuse of a child prior to age 5 while the brain is still forming. So because I was in a multi-generational incest-based family, just painted a big target on me for being part of the projects. And I was sold into it at a very young age. I was used in blackmail operations as a little bitty toddler.
As a toddler.
Yeah.
And with grown men.
Yes. And it was for blackmail purposes because the films that we hear about these days have been going on my whole life. And they've been like, there's this criminal faction that has infiltrated not only our government, but societies, churches, education, so many aspects of society. And they're a criminal, dark, negative energy force faction. And they thrive off of negativity. But they are so criminal, they don't trust each other either.
That's why they have to have the blackmail.
Yes, they hold each other by the blackmail, so to speak. And because there's really so few of them in our world, they try to make themselves look like more by creating illusions through controlled media and making their voice louder than it really is, but also by compromising other people in positions of influence and power with the same blackmail tactics. They could be a politician or a judge or, whomever they're needing to compromise.
To control.
They either coerce them, threaten the lives of their family, or blackmail them. They can drug them and send a child in and film it. Before
we get into this, have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? You like that segue into Chuck Norris? We're talking about some heavy stuff here, and we go to Chuck Norris. I recently saw a video he made, and I was shocked, folks. He's in his 80s and still kicking butt and working out and staying active. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and even has plenty of energy left over his grandkids. He did this just by making one change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger. Her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going ChuckDefense.com, Nino/Nino, or by clicking on the link below this video. It will change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's ChuckDefense.com/Nino. And click on the link to the description box below to watch the video now. You won't believe how simple it is. Just a reminder, folks, the legendary Chuck Norris is a whopping 84 years old and has yet more energy than me. He's discovered he can create dramatic changes to his health simply by focusing on the 3 things that sabotage your body as we age. Watch his method by clicking on the link below, ChuckDefense.com/Nino. Get on it, folks. Had to bring Chuck Norris into this somehow. All right, so I've seen stuff on, I don't know, not really YouTube, but other channels where it shows like trap doors at certain amusement parks where lost children go into and are forever gone. You know, I also think about what happens at national parks.
Yeah.
Is there caverns, underground facilities there as well?
There are underground facilities in a lot of different places. When I was sold into I was taken to various military, NASA, DARPA installations for sophisticated mind control programming. And the formula for mind control is the same, whether it's of an individual, like I experienced, a nation, a military, a school system, an education system, or the world. And trauma is the basis of it. And it raises the suggestibility in our brains. It's how our brains respond to trauma. It shuts neuron pathways down. We lose our free thought. We end up with a heightened suggestibility, and we're more easily led. Ultimately, mind control is being used to create society. So since this is a global effort and it's so pervasive, there's many different places that are used in addition to the military, DARPA, and NASA installations. There's various islands that we hear about, where they set up meeting places.
And there's more than just one island, right? There's many.
Right,
And that
exactly.
one island is just known, but there's so many others, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And there was an island when I was a little toddler that was used all the way back then. So, this is nothing new. And the amusement, to use an amusement park, is a place where there's a lot of children. It's just a place where many do disappear. And there are programming epicenters underneath some amusement parks. Some of the most well-known ones have them on a sophistication level equal to DARPA.
That's scary. So what age did this start for you, and what's your earliest memory?
It started when my father was making child of me back in like 1960. So I was still a toddler even then. I was like 3 and 4, and he was caught sending child.
Oh, hold on. Don't say that word. Just say a different word. Child tapes, let's say.
Child videos.
Yeah.
Of me through the U.S. mails, and he received immunity from prosecution. He had a local politician tell them if he would sell me into M, receive immunity from prosecution. So already our court systems were corrupted. National security was invoked on it. My father went free, and I was sold into from that point on. So it's been going on. It was going on my whole life, right up until I was lifted out of the Washington, D.C. human trafficking swamp in 1988 by an intelligence insider. So that is very pervasive, and it's only grown stronger now. Back then, it wasn't as easy to videotape. Everybody didn't have a cell phone. Now they have cell phones. So I think there's even more underground than there was when I was a child.
Yeah, back then, what it would have been like VHS, or what even was it back then? I mean,
back then it could happen right in plain sight, and people didn't know to think to look for it. So this can be going on in people's backyards. It might be their neighbor, it could be in the school system, it could be in their church, it could be pretty much anywhere. And people just need to start realizing how pervasive it is, because it's been allowed to go on for so long.
Go ahead.
If we open our eyes to it, a lot of people don't want to see it because it's against human nature, and it's hard to deal with. But if they know that anyone, the children who have been trafficked, or the satanic ritual abuse, no matter what happens in life, is not who we are. Who we are is still within us, and it's within us all to heal. When we know that we have been blessed with the most resilient body, mind, and spirit, that we can overcome anything that life puts in our path, That should give people the strength to be able to face the reality of what's happening to so many children and so many victims across our globe. Open our eyes to it so we can stop it. Awareness is the first step towards positive, necessary change. We need to face that reality with the hope and the knowing that they can heal.
I had a guest on, 𝗬𝗏 that talked about, and I've heard this before, that the mansions in Beverly Hills are connected with tunneling systems. And I've heard that before. But he came on 𝗬𝗏𝗏 and talked about how he saw it, described it, showed Google Maps on some of it. And that's just the houses in the Beverly Hills. I mean, people with a lot of money seem to be, with a lot of money, have these dark secrets and are able to fund this stuff with their money. And that's just the houses in Beverly Hills. But are you saying to me, like, these military installations are connected throughout amusement parks and churches? And I mean, it's like this underground tunneling system that connects everything, that they're able to, maybe take a child and bring him down, and that child's gone forever?
That can happen. I think our biggest problem is secrecy and secret societies. We look at these secret societies that are in every neighborhood, and if you're part of that secret society, you get a higher position in the community. That higher position brings more money, and that's why there's so much money in this process. But the secret kept in these secret societies is mind control. And it's how to manipulate the minds of a population. And the agenda is a mind control agenda. And that's something that's happening in these, secret meeting places. Look at these self-appointed, self-anointed global leaders that meet in secret. We don't get to go to those meetings. They meet in secret and decide our fate. No, I don't think so. Not anymore. People are catching on to it. We're becoming aware, and that's key. Truth really does make us free, and it's time that we freed ourselves from these self-appointed leaders we did not elect.
You're probably one of the only people I know that come out and talk about this so bravely. To be honest with you, I can't really name them off the top of my head. You'd be the first one. And you're a survivor. I've seen other people come out, but I mean, I haven't seen them since. One was like, Arizona Wilder or something like that, but I don't even know what happened to her. But you're still out here and you're still making your voice heard. How long did it take you to recover from such trauma? Like, is it still an ongoing process?
Well, healing is a process. It's not an event, and it takes some time. By the time I began speaking out in 1990, I've been speaking out for over 35 years on mind control and healing from it. When I first began speaking out, it was out of concern for my daughter, who was caught up in the so-called child protective services, and it's just an absolutely horrific situation. So it was love for my daughter that compelled me to speak out. It wasn't out of bitterness or hatred. Love's the most powerful force in the universe, so it gave me voice and the strength to be able to start speaking out so early on. By the time I was speaking out at that point, I could not be triggered. For 35 years, my testimony is the same. I cannot be triggered. I've evolved with the knowledge that's our defense against mind control. I recognize it around me. I don't comply with it, and I can't be manipulated further. So that's a very rare aspect, is to not be triggered. A lot of survivors come out too soon, and there are those abusers and controllers who know exactly what vulnerability to look for, and they have them on full display yet. They don't know that they need to, heal fully first, align with that divine within, and, really be rooted and strong in who they are. They need to be so strong in who they are and know their own truth that they don't need anyone else to validate it for them. Because when they speak out, they're not going to be receiving the kind of validation and compassion they might be thinking they will, because people don't respond that way. So we got to be strong first. And I'm really fortunate in that regard that I was encouraged to be healed before speaking out. Nevertheless, that was still an ongoing healing process. You know, there's none of which changed who I am, but still are important little pieces of the puzzle. There's always dust pieces, you know, shattered little pieces, or like recognition. Like I've seen people that I didn't know their names, but I recognize now who they were. You know,
that trafficked you?
Yeah, yeah. But
Wow.
it doesn't change
on television or just in public, or
in different ways, all different ways. Things like that can happen. Little extra pieces of something come in. So you know, I think we all have realizations every day on things.
Does it hit you like when you see their face like a flashback and you remember everything at that moment, or is it just kind of like, oh, that person looks familiar, maybe, or is it something that's just like boom?
No, it's more like, oh, that's the name of that. That's that person that I saw, because it's already absolute. Memory is photographic when trauma occurs. It's another part of our brain's defense mechanism. So those when people start to remember their past traumas, it can feel very present. And they might even hear the voices of their abusers in their head. They might hear the voices of the programmer verbatim in their head. This causes a blurred line on what they're calling voice to skull programming. Not that technology is there too, but it also can feel like that when you're starting to hear that in your head, because the memory is so photographically precise. And that's important to note. So already knowing that photographically, seeing it again isn't like another revelation or something new. It's just, yeah. You know, it's just like more normal, like recognizing somebody that you've always known. But then maybe the name will come with it, you know, or maybe, you know, it's just always one more little piece of the puzzle.
You were trafficked amongst very prominent politicians and presidents too, right? And am I right in saying that?
Yes.
How many prominent politicians? How many? Don't name their names here because it's fluff. But we'll go to
Yeah.
you can name it on .tv. But we'll go to Nino'sCorner.tv and talk about that. But how many? Can you guesstimate trafficked? Like how many presidents?
I don't know the numbers per se, but it was various global leaders in different positions, and it wasn't it because it was all part of a global
American presidents, though.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it's detailed in my 1995 testimony for Congress, Transformation of America. That is all confirmed information, confirmed and investigated and confirmed by concerned members of intelligence and law enforcement, who were very much disturbed over the erosion of our constitutional values and our national sovereignty. You know, so they investigated it. It's all right there in Trans. People can look it up, get the names, all of it for themselves. It's also on Audible, or they can go to my website. But make sure you go to the source for information, because the free ebooks out there change the information. They've been posted all over the internet with altered information to dilute truth. Not only is truth censored, it gets diluted too. So be mindful. Go to the source for information. I read my books on Audible myself, so you know, preserve the integrity of information there. But the names are right there.
Are you surprised that that list has not come out yet, or did you kind of expect it? You know, the whole.
I didn't expect that it would come out. There's so much more that has to happen first. For one, we need a justice system that can prosecute the criminals. For two, people need to open their minds to a discernment that just because you have a list of who flew on an airplane, you got to consider that you've got a list of perpetrators, you got the abusers, you got a list of the abused. The victims are also on those planes, and then people on who become whistleblowers later on. We're also on it. So we need a little discernment. And just to throw a list out there is not going to get us
So
anything.
so they need to go through it with a fine tooth comb and
Yes.
okay.
And we need to expand our thinking. There was one list that came out of entertainer, that had
the Diddy stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say the
Well,
name,
you can say that. For some reason you can say that on Fluff too, but I don't know.
But it was full of victims, and it just like, oh, come on, people, stop judging that way. You don't know what you're judging, So we've got to start looking at that, because there was a time I would have been on that plane. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
I'd have been, because that's where I was used and how I was abused.
And imagine how the public is going to just be outraged when that list comes out and go to these people's home addresses, go looking for them. I mean, it's going to be bonkers. It's going to be crazy. So if anybody is innocent on that list, they wouldn't deserve that kind of treatment. I could say,
Right.
that's how I see it. But
Right.
It's just that we've been promised and promised and promised, and then finally they're like, all right, here it is. Oops, not just kidding. It's just, but the JFK stuff came out. People are still going through that information. But do you mind if we go to 𝗬𝗏𝐻�corner.tv right now and we could talk more in detail about this, and you can name the names of the people and stuff like that?
That'd be great.
Awesome. Cathy, thank you so much. You're very brave. I appreciate you coming on 𝗬𝗏𝐻�corner.tv, the Fluff Tube edition. All right, folks, we'll see you at 𝗬𝗏𝐻�corner.tv. All right, Cathy, see you there.